Desmond?
He's talking to me?
I heard your name once before, Desmond. A long time ago. And now it lingers in my mind, like an image from an old dream. I do not know where you are, or by what means you can hear me. But I know you are listening. I have lived my life as best I could, not knowing its purpose, but drawn forward like a moth to a distant moon. And here at last, I discover a strange truth. That I am only a conduit for a message that eludes my understanding. Who are we, who have been so blessed to share our stories like this? Speak across centuries. Maybe you will answer all the questions I have asked. Maybe you will be the one to make all this suffering worth something in the end. Now, listen.
Sometimes, don't you wish you could be like Ezio? I don't mean being an assassin. I mean being able to talk to your future descendant. Well, it would probably be cooler to talk to your future self. What would you tell them, though? Tell them to stick to that workout routine you started? Maybe tell them to start a family? If this incredibly hypothetical scenario did in fact happen, all of us would assume our future selves are enjoying their lives more than we are. Now imagine if you were talking to your past self. You'd probably think that they're enjoying their lives more than you are right now. Isn't it ironic that both sides of the coin have the same thought process? We always view what we cannot experience as better than what we do experience, whether it's memories or the future. For some reason, we really just hate the reality we're living in currently and wish to be taken away to another one. This phenomenon isn't just limited to life. A lot of times it happens with games. More specifically, people looking back on older games and believing it's miles ahead of the current games. In long-running franchises, this is a massive problem. How can developers ever beat the expectations set from nostalgia? The answer is, you can't. It's impossible. A lot of companies have tried to get around this problem, and some better than the others. Fortnite embraced the nostalgia and created a whole season surrounding it called Fortnite OG. This season was so successful, it turned into its own mode and has been in Fortnite ever since. Some people even say the gameplay loop of Fortnite OG is simply more enjoyable than current Fortnite.
After watching OG Fortnite, after seeing how many people came back because of it, I do think that it could sustain the population.
Is nostalgia carrying his sentiment, or is he correct in his assessment? It's incredibly difficult to judge any form of art objectively. There will always be a subconscious bias, and in this case it's nostalgia. So, when does this happen? When are players just blinded by nostalgia? To answer that, we need to go over some examples. Recently, I platinumed Assassin's Creed Mirage. For those unfamiliar with the term platinumed, it simply means unlocking every achievement in the game. Throughout my playthrough of the game, I remembered hearing the marketing talking about a return to original roots. As I ran to the city of Baghdad, there was a little element of the original AC games, but it felt surrounded by a soulless shell. The parkour felt like I had an anvil tied to the back of my character. Every time Basim had to leap from one point to another, he took a momentary pause and then accelerated out of nowhere. It lacked the flow that the older games had, and while the city design was a parkour playground, Basim wasn't the agile assassin that was promised. The combat was similar to the RPG AC games, but without the challenge or the freedom to express myself as a player. Every combat encounter only consisted of me parrying the enemy and then killing them in one swing of my sword and dagger. The stealth in this game was the only saving grace. It gave me the feeling of an assassin that was missing the previous two entries. The gadgets were interesting, and while some may have been overpowered, I believe that was the way it was intended by the devs. Ubisoft wanted to make Basim this grim reaper from the shadows, and it shows. Right after I platinumed Mirage, I moved on to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I barely touched this game on release and never got to experience it in all of its glory. After only an hour into the game, the difference between both games is stark. In Black Flag, you play as a pirate turned assassin named Edward Kenway. You would assume that a pirate would be less agile and fluid than a trained assassin like Basim, but no. Edward has this janky flow to the way he parkours. He doesn't look as composed as Ezio or Altair, but he could still move from one place to the next incredibly fast. There's no awkward pauses between jumping, climbing doesn't take forever, and there's finally a dedicated jump button. The stealth in this game isn't the fast-paced dopamine rush that Mirage is, but it still makes you feel like an assassin. Black Flag also has its fair share of overpowered gadgets, with the sleep darts turning stealth encounters into a snooze fest, no pun intended. Black Flag's combat is the brawly system that the older games had, and while it isn't the most challenging, it's still more engaging than Mirage's combat. Black Flag beats Mirage in all the core aspects of Assassin's Creed. On top of that, the game's story and systems are so much better than Mirage. Naval combat and raiding ships immerses you into the shoes of a pirate so well, while also keeping it engaging. The sense of progression you have with your ship in Black Flag is something that Mirage lacks even with its skills. You might be asking yourself, I thought this video was about nostalgia and not Assassin's Creed. And you're right, I should explain why I even brought this up. Like I said previously, it's impossible to judge art forms without bias. Luckily in my case, I had no prior bias since I never got to experience Black Flag at launch. Now is my first time playing through the game, and after carefully looking at both games, I can safely say that Black Flag is miles ahead of Mirage. So, maybe nostalgia isn't biased, and franchises can objectively get worse over time. Or is Assassin's Creed just a special case? I have been a COD Zombies fan most of my life. When I was a kid, the only enjoyment I had from COD was zombies. The feeling of progression throughout the match and pushing yourself to achieve your highest round possible is like no other. I recently attempted to relive my childhood and booted up Black Ops 1 on my PS3. As the game opens up, memories start flooding back to me of being scared of Mason, in the chair, screaming, as I can see the menu on the TV. I go straight to zombies and load up the most iconic map of all time, Kino der Toten. As I'm playing through the match, I don't feel that spark I did when I was a kid. While I was still entertained, it just wasn't the same. This changed my perception of Kino, and when I look back on it objectively, I kept finding out how bland I found this map. I choose to talk about COD Zombies not only because of its sentiment to me, but the fact that there has been a multitude of remasters. Black Ops 3 released Zombies Chronicles, which was a DLC pack including 8 remastered Zombies maps throughout the previous games. One of these maps was Kino der Toten. Now, after 2 generations of consoles, I boot up Kino der Toten. This time, with the interesting systems of Black Ops 3. The little spice that Gobblegums brought to Kino made me fall back in love with this map again. The wonder weapons felt wonderful to me again, like they did when I was a kid. I'm not saying they lacked impact in BO1, it just didn't feel the same as before. But now, on BO3, it felt like a whole new experience, and one that captivated me. The more I played Kino on BO3, the more I realized how blinded I was by nostalgia. To me, this was clearly the superior version of the map, and the pinnacle of zombies. So what, one time nostalgia got the better of me and one time it didn't. However, I believe that in many cases, nostalgia hinders our assessment of games. If only we had the ability to revisit all the old games with a new twist on it, like I could with BO3. Then, I think we would all see how much games have improved over time. The reason I talked about my experience with Black Flag and Mirage was to show that there are outliers. But, is there ever a way to tell which is which? Will we always be in the chokehold of nostalgia? While it's not wrong to reminisce on old games, let the past be the past and enjoy the present. This doesn't just apply for games, it applies for all of life. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.